So today this video is going to be about something that's hiding in a diesel engine bay, probably a Bosch system, EDC 16, whatever, maybe 17. If you don't know anything about cars, or you're a mechanic, I'll just show you what we're going to do. We're going to test an injector today, or two, and we're going to use a megger tester. What's a megger tester? You'll find out in the video basically. But essentially what a megger tester is, if I can get it off the wall, is a very high voltage 1000 volt tester. And voltage is pressure, electrical pressure. So the higher the voltage, that's the higher the electrical pressure. So if there's any issues with the injectors, usually intermittent, it'll go to ground and everyone's happy, and then we know we've got a knackered injector. Now, this car's come to me from a fault finder, so-called fault finder. Now, you know me, I give a hard time to myself if I do something wrong, but this fault finder, who shall remain nameless, has said he's checked the resistance of the injectors. Well, I'm not going to waste my time or your time showing you that, because you probably know how to do it. So that's when you basically get a meter like this, and you put it on the resistance measurement, which is that one there, the little omega sign, and you take your test leads and you go both sides of the fuel injector. There's two pins, positive and negative, and you measure the resistance. Well, first of all, that don't prove anything. If you do it from the engine ECU to the injectors, you can prove if you've got a problem with resistance in the wiring. But then again, usually, as I've always said, if you don't load the circuit, it could have good resistance value but still have resistance in. You have to load the circuit. And that, essentially, loading the circuit is what the megger tester is going to do. It's going to load the circuit. Now, I've done a video or two about this before in the past, but this is an updated video. It's going to be much better. So if you don't know anything about cars, stick along and you're going to see what proper fault finder does when he finds an intermittent fault. And I believe we'll have number 5, maybe number 6 injector faulty. So what happens is when we're testing these injectors with the megger tester, we're going on the DDE, we're checking them pins, each one in turn to ground to the chassis. Well, when that's bolted into the engine, of course, it's going to be touching the chassis, because the engine is also touching the chassis through the ground cable. And that's what we're doing. So when you have a shorted injector, it's going all the way through the injector, and it can't insulate the electricity anymore. It should insulate it like the other ones are doing, which aren't knackered. And the lack of insulation means that it then has continuity to ground. That's why we have the continuity value with the zeros. It's just saying that it's going to ground. Well, if you use even the 500 volt one on that megger tester, it won't get that. So what chance have you got with a multimeter? When you've got a multimeter pushing out millivolts, and this is pushing out 1000 volts DC, then it'll work. Millivolts won't do anything with it. 1000 volts will work though. So on a megger tester, the way we do this is we have it on the 1000 volt setting there. We have it on the low side, and when we're looking, and if we see that, that's basically infinite resistance. And that's fantastic, because what infinite resistance means is, and I'll just show you what that looks like on here. So if we get a fluke meter, or this meter, and we do that, 0L is infinite resistance. Of course, when we touch the terminals together, we won't have infinite resistance. And it's exactly the same, it just doesn't say 0L. On this particular megger tester, it just says 1. But that basically is the same as 0L, i.e. good insulation in that sense. So we got it on the bench there now, and it's grounded. So I've got a safety glove on now, Cat 3, just in case. What you can do with this, which is really nice, you can lock it, but don't forget put it back or it'll give someone an electric shock. When you lock it like that, 1 second, not so easy like this, with this glove on. When you lock it like that, essentially, you can then press the test and it stays active all the time then. So if we go to ground to the bench now, you'll see we have continuity with ground then, you see. Like that. So that's what we'll see on our engine if we've got a shorted injector. That's not what you want to see. That means we've got continuity to ground. So that's a faulty one. A non-faulty one will just show that. Now you've got that, let's get into it. The problem is, it doesn't differentiate sometimes between if it's cylinder 4, cylinder 5 or cylinder 6 injector. It would be easy if it did, but it doesn't. So this is why we need to use a megger tester on basically all those cylinders. And it's always the back cylinders for some reason. That tends to be where a lot of the water collects. So I find that I tend to have to use bloody screwdrivers more now. It's a little bit depressing, that, isn't it? I guess it's part of being old. I need to look after myself more, I guess. These are the injector ones. You can always tell because they're all... But look how tight they are. That's not right, that. Someone's been pissing around with that. So someone's had them out. I can tell you straight, it's mechanic's hunch that. Someone's been farting around with that. Because that there now is the wrong way. That should go underneath there. Look how tight it is, that. It's not right, that. So I think what we'll do, instead of taking ECR, because that's enough, I'll just put another bag over that because it's starting to drip now again. So, just as I mentioned earlier, what we're going to do now, we're going to test all the injectors. There's 12 connectors there. Don't worry about front probing. I'm not pressing hard, so don't give me any trouble for that. Believe me, I'm not damaging them. We're actually going to go now to the one which is faulty, which is number 5. I'd already found that out before. So as you can see, just as I told you when we bench tested it, it's going straight to chassis ground, isn't it? Just like we did on the workbench there. There's your issue with it, basically. And that one is a good one. Probably a number 4, I think. And then just a couple more good ones. As you can see, there's no continuity to ground because we don't have the zeros, you know. So I'm just going through testing them all, really, in that sense. But there is a danger on these, and you'll probably find out in a minute on the video that it can be more than one injector faulty. So it's just a case of pulling the inlet manifold off and getting some access to get to the electrical connectors of the injectors, and of course to undo the rail side of the pipes. As you see now, it was a hell of a difficult job to get that off. It was so tight. It's not corroded inside though, which is always handy, isn't it? But you can see where the water's going in, and the trouble is it'll do it again. And really, in my opinion, I would put some sort of cover over it, but they always usually just want you to fix it. They never want you to address the root cause, and the root cause is water going on, isn't it? Whoa, Jesus, that was a tight one. Oh yeah, look at that water dripping out of that one. And that essentially is the issue. Horrendous. Straight to that. Without the slide hammer, you'd never get that out. You'd never get that out in memory of man. So we've got the new one right here, but of course we need to clean the bore so the O-ring doesn't get damaged. Well, the iPhone isn't focusing, do we? There's a few deposits here. We'll give that a bit more of a clean, but it's generally quite reasonable, isn't it? So let's get that nestled in there. Put a bit of Yarrow Vaseline, a bit of brake Vaseline on just to make sure. A tutorial about injectors, there's a lot of videos on YouTube about that, but basically I like to just make sure they're kind of started before I actually bottom down the 8mm holding nuts for the brackets. Good thing to do with these is obviously when you do have that short, if you just disconnect it and the short disappears, in theory, even though it's not loaded, it's not the wiring harness, is it? So what we're going to do now is same as we did with number 5. We'll put that back up. I've got my little paper here without terminals on, you see, essentially without numbers on. So we'll go to that 2 and 26 now, and we'll double check it, and then by checking it from here, connected, we should be right then, shouldn't we? Let's see if it fires up. To bleed it a bit after repair. Whoa. Right, let's go and roll test it. So in the end with that job, we actually ended up with number 6 being faulty as well, and that's the danger. Sometimes you can test it at the time of test, it's okay, but then you have to go back and tell customer, I've done number 5, but now it's going to cost you another few £100 for number 6. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is, and I never like doing that, but I'd rather try and save them money by doing one first and trying it rather than just guessing and saying, oh, let's just do it anyway. Number 2, 2 injectors. So that was the issue, and before anyone asks, I did actually record the screen recording of the quantity compensation. So if anyone moans, oh, you didn't do the injector quantity compensation, because I know a lot of people, like, you read out messages, I get a load of good messages, but like some of that for delete, auto delete, and I get like a lot of like not so nice people sending me like crappy messages like you don't know what you're doing and all that. Well, I do. I've been doing it 31 years, and I did do the quantity compensation. In fact, no, I don't have it. I've put them with job card. I've got the codes. Right, I hope you enjoyed that. If you've never seen a megger test before, now you know why mechanics do that, and why we do it is purely and simply so that we don't have to guess, because the resistance measurement just doesn't give it enough oomph, as we call it. Thank you very much. Massive amount of views this month. I'm coming up to 100,000 views in a month now, maybe just over, and I'm not far off 1 million views from my channel. I need 90,000 views, so let's hope we can get there. If you've not subscribed, please subscribe, because according to YouTube statistics, I have 8,500 returning viewers around about every month, but yet I've got less than 5,000 subscribers, and that's a little disappointing. And I know it's like not really everything, but I'd like to get more subscribers, because it's a measure of how my videos are enjoyable, and that it's kind of successful then, isn't it? Right, I'm gonna go on. See you all soon. More videos coming when I get time.